I'm just gonna set up and then see what's going on. First comes the adapter ring. Alrighty. Maybe I'm gonna use f11. It's a 10-second exposure. It's gonna be the first test shot. That freaking ship is there. It's not too bad though. It's gonna be an 8-second exposure. This is what I'm using, 8 seconds and ND. 3 stops. 1 minute and 4 seconds. It looks good to me. This is actually much better, that pink. You see much more pink there because the sun is rising there. It's such a pity. Maybe I'll take one that way as well. I think 1 minute is enough because light is already getting stronger. Doing the long exposure noise reduction, which will subtract the hot pixels, hopefully. Alright, so this is what we've got. The first shot, that's not bad. It's gonna look nice, I think. Happy with that. So this is the second exposure, facing the dock lens, not dock lens, what are they called? Whatever they are. I've never taken a shot from this angle before, so hopefully this will turn out okay. So we get the second shot. Here we are. Much more pink in the sky. This should look pretty good. Can work with that. Finished for today. How beautiful is this? It's not a cormorant, what is it? Albatross.
I usually start my editing in Lightroom, where I only do super basic editing, super basic stuff. I had created a few presets. I usually apply a specific one to the majority of my images that create very subtle changes to contrast, saturation. Then I tend to look at highlights and shadows and make adjustments there. Always keep checking if there's any clipping, which you can see if you hold the Alt down. I'm using Windows. Always gotta keep an eye on the histogram. If you've made a mistake, then you can make corrections in Lightroom already. The preset also contains lens profile correction and also removes any chromatic aberration. After that, I usually check the white balance. Sometimes I start with that white balance, then adjust the color temperature if I messed up in camera. I tend to use auto white balance in camera, but it's worth checking it every time. Then I look at the noise reduction slider and make some changes if necessary. In these shots, I shot them at base ISO, so I didn't really have to do anything in regards to noise reduction. There's also a pretty handy keyboard shortcut that I use after the basic editing process, the backslash, which shows you the before and after status of the current image. After that, I usually export the files as JPEGs, then I open them up in Photoshop, which tends to be much faster than when working with, for example, TIFF files. So let's hop into Photoshop after this. So in Photoshop, for these particular images, I only did a few things. First, started by creating a copy of the background layer by hitting the Ctrl+J and did some cleaning. I used a combination of the clone stem tool and healing brush tool at different hardness levels. I prefer to use the healing brush tool instead of the spot healing brush in general, but the spot healing brush does a relatively good job at removing, for example, just dust spots. I was expecting actually more at f11, as I've been changing lenses quite a bit as of late. I also had to remove unwanted elements such as plastic bottles that were left there by inconsiderate people, so please pick up your garbage and I don't have to do as much post-processing. Jokes aside guys, make sure you take your rubbish with you. I see so much shit lying around everywhere, it's essentially just suffocating us. Anyway, the next step was creating a curves adjustment layer. In this instance I went for linear contrast, then lowered the opacity quite a bit. Then I applied a hue saturation adjustment layer which added a tiny bit of extra saturation. You always have to be careful though, as artifacting can happen, so just zoom in and check it out just to make sure everything is correct. I also used an enhanced circular polarizer when I was stacking filters, so there was no need to touch the colors as much. Then I added a bit of vibrance to bring out the pinkish hue in the sky and teal in the water. After that I flattened the image instead of creating a stamp visible layer, which is my bad. I know I should do that most of the time. I just hate looking at a million layers on the side. I should group them, but whatever. Then I applied a high pass filter with an inverse mask. Then with the brush tool, the flow and the hardness were at both at 100%. I sharpened the pylons, mainly in the foreground, to enhance the amazing texture they had. If you accidentally touch the water, just toggle with the X and use the black as the foreground color to erase those spots. You could also do heaps more and do, for example, exposure blending with luminosity masks if the dynamic range is extreme within a single frame. Take multiple exposures. It's much better, I think, than HDR, but I'm usually too lazy to do that, but it's an awesome technique for sure that I can recommend. After that, I just exported the image, but also went back later and used the curves adjustment layer with layer mask and brightened up the foreground a bit, as it was a tad underexposed. I essentially did the same for the second shot, so I won't be showing the process of that. Anyway guys, hope you like this little editing section. It's by no means comprehensive, just thought I'd share my thought process and a couple of tricks I've learned. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. I very much appreciate it. See you guys in the next video. Peace!
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word